Welcome, everyone, to another episode 18 of Blind Boys Politics. Chris, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, but it seems like you're doing a lot better than me because that was a very high energy welcome.
Yeah, and I don't know why. A, I haven't had coffee this morning. B, I just woke up, so usually that means I want to murder half the world. But I'm feeling it this morning.
I feel like we're both a lot more energetic at 9:30 in the morning versus 11:30 at night.
Well, this is what happens when I actually get a day off from school. So I escaped that prison, and now we're here.
I'm giving you a middle finger through the computer
Yeah, well,
because I'm in gym class right now.
you're being real athletic right now, aren't you?
Well, I say I'm in gym class and then I take a sip of Pepsi. Ooh,
Most gym class like thing in the
delicious.
world.
Speaking of which, I never did my Google form for gym class. Whoopsies.
Whoops.
So while Nick talks, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, see, my gym class, when I'm in person, I legitimately do nothing. Like,
You never do anything in the first place anyway, so what does it matter?
hey, an in-person gym class, I am active, my friend. Although, right now,
I
active
love how the
means
teacher said on our Google Classroom, do we have a Google Meets today or is it tomorrow? That shows you how
Oh,
well this hybrid learning model is going.
yeah. I mean, the hybrid learning system we knew was going to be like a very sketchy system from the beginning.
You know what? I'm just going to do her attendance doohickey, and then I'm going to pretend like I never saw that.
Oh no. No, but right now, gym class for me literally means like when we're in person, it means walking the track. So that's kind of where gym class is for for
See, that
my
sounds like the
situation.
perfect class for me because, ugh, too much work to do anything else.
See, I don't like that though. I'm a weight room person, and the fact that I can't go into the weight room is destroying my mind day after day, brain cell by brain cell.
Well, just go in there then.
I can't. It's locked.
Well, that's a shame. You can go into mine. But see, I always loved walking the track because me and my aide would just bullshit the entire period and talk shit about the other staff.
Oh my god, dude.
On
Oh
that note, we
man.
don't need to tell everyone what school I go to in case that gets back to anybody, but
Yeah, we'll keep that.
that's anonymous.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't
But
need to
Nick,
know that.
you know what happened 1 month ago today?
What happened 1 month ago today?
I bought my whiteboard calendar, and
Have
I
you put it to
love
good
it.
use?
Yeah, the calendar's like full.
So that means that it was worth the $75.
Oh, it was so worth it. I've kept track of most of my life.
Love that. What
I
life?
say most because, well, mostly a train wreck.
What life, though? That's my question.
Another middle finger going through the screen.
We're on
The
fire this
only
morning.
day that I don't have something written down that I have to do is September 30th, and I'm sure that will change by the end of the day.
All right, then. Well, we could continue contemplating life and how much should be written down on a whiteboard calendar another time.
You know, my Pepsi, there's no more ice left in it, so that's a big note now.
That's a tragedy.
It is, because now it's going to get warm.
Just drink it before then. I just said then twice, but
This
whatever.
is my second bottle of Pepsi today, Nick. Well, back off.
All right, then. Well, we got a lot of news to cover today, so let's jump straight into it. So, to start out with today, we have to talk about the unfortunate passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, pretty well known as RBG. She was a Supreme Court justice who had been appointed back in 1993 by Bill Clinton, and she had only been the second woman in history to be appointed as a Supreme Court justice.
She passed away at her home at the age of 87, surrounded by her family. She's, best known for her daily workout videos on Instagram and her great sense of humor. While she was one of the justices for the Supreme Court, she always fought for gender equality, women's rights, and so much more. But those were the two main that she always was an advocate for.
And she was definitely committed to her job. I mean, she had been battling colon and pancreatic cancer for years, but she was known for hardly missing work ever. Um, so she was, from the gender equality work she did to, just always being at work no matter what she was facing. She was committed to the position for sure. And it's a tragic passing for sure.
And very few politicians have commented on this, which that's kind of a surprise for me for the extent amount of time that she was on it, 20 plus years that she worked for the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, we're bridging upon 30 years now.
Mm-hmm. When President Donald Trump he first found out from a news reporter shortly after it happened, he was returning back to the White House, and this is what he had to say.
Died? Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that.
So that was what our President Donald Trump had to say, and I don't know about you, Nick, but it seemed very sincere to me.
Yeah, it did to me as well.
There's been some people that have passed away, and he says stuff, but it's like, okay, you're not very serious about that one.
Right, it's almost like scripted.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that definitely did seem legitimate, and it seemed like he actually, was impacted by her death and by her passing, and that's rare that we see that from him, and rare that we see it from politicians in general, really.
But even though that she passed away, a new seat has to be filled. Now, legally, the Senate can confirm a new justice.
Yes.
Whether they should or not, that's up to your politics. That's up to your opinion, whether they should do it immediately or wait until after the election. That's up to your personal opinion.
Right.
They can legally do it, but whether or not they should.
Yeah, fact remains that's something that's been around since the literal making of the Constitution. So
now, the Senate can also decide how many people sit on the bench. Whether or not how many should, that's also up to your opinion. Since 1789, there's been between 5 to 10 justices that sit on the bench. They first went to 9 justices in 1869, and like I said, since 1789, they've had a variance of 5 to 10. Now, Nick, should we talk about the whole process and why why this is such a big deal that everyone's freaking out about a new justice?
Yeah. So a confirmation from the president for a new nominee takes about 80 days. And then after that, the nominee gets grilled in front of a Senate panel for literally days. And then after that, the Senate votes.
We only need 51 votes to say yes, and there's 53 Republicans sitting in the Senate right now. So pretty much whoever Trump picks, or even if it's after the election or however, if he picks now, it's pretty much a guarantee that this new person will be picked.
Yeah. I
and
agree.
This is really such a big deal because it's a life position. It's not like, you only do it for 4 years. No, you sit on this bench for the rest of your life. That's your job. And also, it's a big deal because the people don't vote on it. The senators do. So, if the people aren't happy with who is the new justice, your job, your seat might be bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But, it's kind of interesting. I honestly, like, when it comes to things like a Supreme Court justice, people don't seem to get quite as upset over that as they would, say, a bad seat in the House or the Senate, because ever since the beginning of this country's existence, really, when the Constitution first was ratified, the judicial branch and the Supreme Court was always held as like the least important part of the Constitution. That's, when you look at the Constitution, the first three articles are the different branches of government, and the judicial branch is the third, and then the last out of the three, of course. And that's because even the founding fathers back then and the people back then saw it as kind of less important. And that's why, that's kind of one of the reasons why the Senate is able to just, and the president is just able to directly elect a new justice when there's a seat open. So you don't really see as much like public mayhem over it.
Right, and like I said, whether or not they should honor RBG's wishes of having it done after the election or before the election, that's up to your politics. That's up to your own opinion. Everyone has to form their own opinion on that one.
Very true.
But Nick, should we kind of move on to some drama?
Oh boy.
Some big boy drama. And that would be with the Senate. And you might be thinking, over the new justice? Well, yeah, but no. Should we? This time we're referring to the budget. A possible government shutdown?
Yeah, so when we spoke on the Monday show this week, we went into a lot of detail, well, a decent amount of detail anyway, on what was going to happen with the government shutdown, what the deadline was and all of that. So this week we had been planning to talk about the shutdown coming up on September 30th and what was going on there. So, they had to come up with an agreement, of course, by then, or the government would have been shut down. For this to happen, both the House and the Senate have to agree.
Here's where the fighting really began. Because both sides do have to agree. It's the yearly budget. It was supposed to be a clean deal that would get them through to December 11th, but the White House, Trump administration, decided to throw in their aid for farmers. The Democrats shot back and said, no, this is supposed to be a clean deal. No extra things put into the yearly budget. We're not approving this. So there was some bickering back and forth there, and, if it's 6 days away, they had to have this all screwed away, figured out before another government shutdown started October 1st. And, we discussed how that would be terrible. But late last night, they came to an agreement that, each side's going to get a certain amount of extra money to do it. We will be talking more about what they actually get and what it's for more on Monday, because that's still a developing story, so cover it all at once.
What we know right now is that this deal should extend until December 11th. But yes, as Chris said,
more negotiations.
Yeah. So as Chris said, we'll have more of the specific numbers and the more detailed breakdown of that whole deal on Monday. But
let's talk about everyone's favorite thing.
Stimulus.
Now let me just tell you. It doesn't look so good for another stimulus, Nick.
Nope, it hasn't this whole time, and it hasn't gotten any better this week.
And it doesn't look like it's gonna get any better.
No.
So let's have a recap on what we just said Monday. The Democrats originally had $3 trillion for a stimulus. They went down $2.4 trillion. They're telling the Republicans to come up $1 trillion. Even President Trump told the Republicans, meet them in the middle, just do it, get this stimulus passed, because President Trump's getting a little impatient, you can tell with this, because he didn't plan on this taking this long for a stimulus to ever come, and if it ever comes. Well, the Republicans, now we're learning that the Republicans don't want to go up the $1 trillion because the Democrats have thrown in there money for Planned Parenthood. Now, whether or not they should have done that, or should they do that, that's a totally different story. But at the end of the day, the Republicans are saying, no, that's not part of a stimulus. It's not needed. We're not coming up $1 trillion for Planned Parenthood.
Well, and just like with the budget deal, with this deal, the Republicans were, this was also supposed to be a pretty clear-cut, clean deal. The Planned Parenthood was something the Democrats threw in kind of after the fact almost. And, just like with the farmers' aid issue from before, now the same is happening with the Planned Parenthood. So really, going back to the kind of fighting issue, they're just going back and forth.
They're in a gridlock right now. So don't expect a stimulus coming because the Republicans are not giving them money for Planned Parenthood and this stimulus.
Right.
They made that quite clear. So at the end of the day, don't expect a stimulus check next week, the week after, or the week after that.
Yeah. Yeah,
now, if I am wrong, my editor can play me saying this right now, but do not expect a stimulus anytime soon.
Yeah, well, and also, like we discussed before that things like this rarely pass around election time, around voting time. And this is just proof of it. These two parties are bickering so badly right now that they're not even coming close to passing this right now.
I mean, it's not much of a shock in the first place, but to add a little bit more sting to it, we have an upcoming election.
Yes.
So, everyone has their own opinions on what could have been done to solve this issue, but as per usual, we're not the ones in charge, so no one's opinion really does matter on what they should do. It matters on what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, no doubt about that.
And like we said, I think we've said this for the third week now. If you're not happy with what's getting done, you hold the power of who sits in those seats. So if you're not happy with someone, say goodbye.
Right. I mean, it's like I said this in a previous episode too. People need to wake up and realize what in the world's going on because, like, as we've discussed for multiple episodes now, these two parties cannot meet in the middle on anything right now. I mean, they were lucky that they got the deal done in time, and I'm just honestly, like, just to give my own personal opinion, put myself on the line just for a second, but it's kind of small. The only reason I think they even pushed the deal through was to just specifically just be like, no, we don't want a government shutdown, just pass it through, whatever. But that's just pure luck. That's just pure luck because right now, those two parties are bickering so heavily and so, childishly that nothing effective can be done right now. So people need to see this. If you're not informing yourself on what's going on, if you're not like looking into what your congressmen are doing, look into it. Really look into it and see what's going on. See what's going on during these deals. Research. Just educate yourself a little bit and see if this is what you really want, if this is the person you really want. Because right now, we're heading on an extreme downhill slope because the gap between these two parties is just getting bigger and bigger, which means there's going to be less and less effective ways of handling problems like this.
Now, this is going to be our final statement. Whether or not the Democrats should have put in the Planned Parenthood is one thing. Whether or not the Republicans should just meet them somewhere in the middle, that's another thing. What you think they should do is up to your own opinions. Everyone has the right to form their own opinions. But at the end of the day, you are the reason they're there. If you're not happy that the Republicans aren't meeting them in the middle, vote them out. If you're not happy that the Democrats threw in Planned Parenthood, vote them out. That's the end of the story. Goodbye. Case closed. Adios.
All right, so now that we have that flare of energy, we did speak of an election coming up, and that means that it is time to vote. It's time to register and time to vote.
Now, you probably saw all over social media Tuesday to get registered to vote, and the reason that you saw that was because it was National Voter Registration Day.
And also, to build off that, if you are part of Generation Z, this will be your very first election.
Congratulations.
Proud of you guys.
To be able to vote, you must be 18 on election day. So you can get registered to vote by your state's deadline, but still be 17. But if your birthday is November 2nd, you can still vote. You can still get registered to vote.
Right.
So if you're 17 by your state's deadline, you can still get registered to vote. You just have to say, I will be 18 on November 3rd.
Now, of course, there are some pretty obvious stipulations to voting as well. You have to be a U.S. citizen, and of course, you have to meet the specific rules that are set in your state, because as we've discussed, each state kind of has their own rules and regulations surrounding voting.
Now, to be able to vote, you must be registered to vote. I can't say that enough. You must be registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, you cannot get a mail-in ballot, and you cannot just walk into an election room and vote. They won't let you vote. You need to be registered. Now, chances are, if you got your driver's license and you were going to be 18 by November 3rd, the DMV already asked you, do you want to vote when you're 18? If you said yes, they already had you fill out the information. But you can check this by going to your Secretary of State's website and check your registration. Or you can just search, am I registered to vote? Your state will come up, you put in your information, and it will tell you either if you're registered or how to get registered to vote. With that being said, it's the perfect time for you old folks to make sure you're still registered to vote by doing the same thing.
Right. And as we've said before, if you have any type of opinion on, who you want in office, on either side of the coin, it's your job and your responsibility to get out there and vote. Put your voice out there. Put your opinion out there. So many people say that it doesn't matter. So many people say that their voice isn't heard. But if enough people drop that mentality and go in and actually vote, the entire tide of things can change. Always remember that. If you're part of a chain that goes from my voice isn't heard to, hey, I'll vote, it's worth a shot, it can really change things. So get out there, vote, and
it's your responsibility to vote.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Now, to change gears into a more sad, depressing, sensitive topic. Tuesday, we have lost 200,000 Americans to COVID-19. Whether or not you believe in COVID-19, 200,000 people have still lost their lives. And before you go and just start saying things, think about it. This someday could affect someone you love or yourself. So before you start saying, this is fake, blah, 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 just think about it could affect you someday, whether or not you believe in it or not. Whether you think it's a fake virus or if it's the real deal, it could still affect you some way, somehow down the line.
Right. I mean, one thing you have to remember, that people kind of have to realize is that, we're in September now. This started pretty much early March. So, we've been in this situation for, what is that, 7 months now, almost?
Mm-hmm.
You have to realize, if you don't already, that this is reality. This isn't just some made up thing. It's not some just random story that the entire world is freaking out about. No, it's here, it's happening. And whether you want to be worried about it and go, crazy over it, that's another thing. That's completely, your own opinion on how much you worry about it. But you have to realize that it is real. It's here. It's happening now. And it's been happening for 7 months. So, whether or not you believe in all the guidelines, or whether you think that it's, a ridiculous threat, or whatever threat level you really put it on, at least acknowledge that it's real and that it can affect the lives of your family, your friends, your neighbors, or you yourself. Like Chris said, it can affect you at any moment. It's real. So please accept that. Whatever your state's guidelines are, do your best to follow them. And that's really all I have to say there. It's tragic that we've lost 200,000 people to this.
You know what really put this into perspective almost for me? Not perspective, but it really made me sit back and think for a minute. This is now the third leading cause of death in the U.S., right behind heart disease and cancer.
Yeah, I mean,
a virus is the third leading cause of death in America, according to the Johns Hopkins.
Well, it's crazy. We haven't seen, I think one reason people are in such denial over this whole thing is because we haven't seen anything like this since, well, pretty much exactly a century ago when the Spanish flu was hitting the world. We haven't seen a pandemic like this in 100 years.
But
so
just
it's hard
think
to
about
believe that
it's
it's
the
here.
third leading cause of death. In the span of
Exactly.
7 months, it's the third leading cause of death.
And that's why I say, that's why both of us say, really, you have to accept that it's real. It's here, and it is attacking this country.
Now we could just continue rambling on, but some people will choose not to listen to us, but that's the facts. 200,000 people have unfortunately lost their lives. Follow your state's guidelines. That's all we can say. And, just think about it for a second, that is the third leading cause of death in America. In the span of 7 months. In the span of 7 months.
Yeah. But
on to some brighter news.
Yeah, on to a bit of better news. The TikTok deal is making some real progress here. Trump at the moment has given his consent to the deal, and he approves of it in concept. And he basically says if they get a deal done, that's great. If not, that's fine too. And of course, they have until November 12th to pass that deal through. And we're waiting for China to approve it on their end.
Now, just to clarify, this deal is between Oracle, Walmart, and ByteDance. They're still kind of in the midst of negotiations. Like, it's all written out in concept, but on the execution of things, that's still in kind of like a back and forth negotiation. Not so much negotiations, just trying to figure out how everything will work. They have until November 12th to get that figured out. China also has until November 12th to agree to these terms. Now, if China says in 5 minutes, no, we don't agree, that is going to be some big trouble on the horizon.
Yeah, of course.
In theory, if everything passes, this is kind of huge.
Oh, absolutely. If this deal does in fact go through and get approved on both ends, the new name of the company will be TikTok Global. There will be there'll be headquarters for operations here in the U.S. in Texas, creating about 25,000 new jobs.
That's a lot.
That's huge. That's a
For
lot of jobs right there.
For a social media company,
Oh my God.
that almost makes me wonder how many jobs there is for like Instagram and Facebook in them.
Oh, I know.
25,000? That seems like a hell of a lot.
25,000 just from one deal. And it's not like, it's not like Walmart and Oracle are going to even own the entire company. They own 20%.
Right. And like Nick said, they'll be headquartered in Texas. Now, what I found interesting about this, Nick, is Trump said that $5 billion of revenue will be put into the U.S. education fund. Now, who is paying for that $5 billion a year? Do you know?
Who knows?
Who knows? So that's still got to get figured out. But $5 billion each year needs to be put into the U.S. education system.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That is a lot. That's not bad at all. Some will argue that we definitely need more money put into our education system, and there it is.
But I love how our president just said $5 billion. Like, my question is, who the hell is going to be paying that $5 billion a year?
Yeah, well,
it's still undetermined.
I wonder if that's coming from the company. Like,
that seems like a lot of money just from ByteDance and Oracle and Walmart to be paying in a year $5 billion. And then where are they getting that money from? Because they don't rarely ever have ads when you open the app. Like, I've maybe had an ad 2 to 3 times, and also their app is free, so that's that. And also, they're now paying creators money to be on TikTok.
Oh, but you gotta imagine. I mean, you gotta imagine they're making money from somewhere.
Well, they have to be, but $5 billion, just like you gotta pay $5 billion. The question is, who's paying for that money? Where is it coming from?
Yeah. I think where it's coming from is the biggest question for me, because I feel like the money is going to come from the company,
and they have to agree to that. Like, Trump just said, you're paying $5 million. Someone is. Where that's coming from, that's a different story. They have until November 12th to figure that out. So that's it on the TikTok. It looks like TikTok has been saved, everybody. Congratulations.
Woo! Now, of course, if China just feels like, if China is having a bad morning, if they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, they can say, screw you, and just cut this whole thing off at any moment. So
that would be a shame.
That would be that would be tragic. But, because Chris here, I blame Chris. He's kind of gotten me into TikTok a little bit recently, so.
Is there anything that you do that's never my fault?
You
know what? We fight like an old married couple. So get down on one knee and you better propose to me. Because if I'm going to fight with you like an old married couple, I better get your tax return money for it.
I'll do that on Monday's show.
Okay. Wow,
I'll do that on Monday's show.
That would be so romantic.
Well, with that in mind,
let's talk about some dumb laws.
Let's get into some dumb laws, folks. Chris, since I've been going first past couple times, why don't you go first this time?
I go first. It seems like every Friday, so get your facts straight.
I've gone first for the past 2 episodes.
You have not. You went first last time, and now it's my turn. Huh?
And the time before.
Nuh-uh.
Whatever. Fine. I'll go first then.
No, I'm going first.
What? Guys, this is what I put up with on a daily basis. This is my life.
Fine. Since I'm going first, Nick, I'm going to tell you the best dumb law there ever has been.
All right. Go for it.
In Minnesota, airplanes cannot land in a city park. Write the memo to Southwest and let them know.
But I always wanted to just casually land a plane just casually in a park on probably a ton of other people. Why? Who? What why would you do this in the first place? Unless you had to make a crash landing. And
I can explain this one to you. Southwest or American Airlines or God knows who must have lost their freaking mind and be like, oh, let's just land in this park over here, even though there's probably an airport 20 miles down the road.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, did lawmakers think that parks were like a popular place to land a plane?
It must have been. On a more serious note, I think they mean more like one passenger planes, not
Well, yeah, but
not a
even
Southwest Airlines plane.
but even then, what private plane is going to land in a city park? They won't be able to take off again.
Well, there was an emergency landing in my backyard like 5 years ago. And my yard is not the size of a city park, so Lord only knows.
So you're telling me, though, that if someone has to make an emergency landing, the state legislature is then just going to turn around and be like, nah, you broke the law, man. You're
I
done.
would tell him, kiss my motherfucking ass. So, Nick, what's your dumb law? Please tell me you actually have a dumb law. You came prepared today, did you?
I did. I
I'm
came very much
impressed.
prepared today.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. You told me to be ready, and I was ready. So
I should start telling you to be ready more often.
it won't work.
I'd give it a week and you would...
Yeah.
I digress. Okay. Continue.
All right. So for this one, we traveled to Wyoming.
Woo!
And this is a doozy. So I just said, we're just going to ignore what I just said. But anyway, it's reportedly illegal to cut, sever, detach, or mutilate more than 1/2 of a sheep's ear. According to Wyoming state legislature, violations are felony offenses punishable by up to 5 years in prison. However, less than 1/2 of the ear is perfectly fine.
I have a question. What is the deal with everyone hating animals?
Like, guys, leave the animals alone. First, there was Montana and driving animals onto train tracks to hurt the train. Now it's cutting off their ear. Why?
Why do people have so much hate towards these animals?
Leave the animals alone. Oh, my question is why are you cutting the ear or mutilating the ear of a sheep or any animal in general? I don't get it. I don't get it. This is just dumb.
Nick, just continue on, buddy.
This is gonna just annoy me for the rest of the day. Chris, can you please give us some good news so I can try to wash this from my brain?
So, I will give you some good news, Nick, so you don't lose your mind from these poor animals.
Thank you.
Short disclaimer, the following news story does contain the mention of the topic of suicide. However, of course, since it is the good news story, it does have a good ending and a good outcome, so keep that in mind. However, if you would not like to listen to this story due to its subject matter, you may skip it, of course, and since it sits at the end of the episode, you can just skip the rest of the episode. Thank you very much.
Now, this good news story, it's actually a couple months old. I was rummaging through my notes because I have notes everywhere in my office. I have sticky notes everywhere. I should really start taking sticky notes off the walls, but in my head, all of these notes that I have on the wall, all these papers that I have everywhere, I know where everything is, and it all makes sense. Well, we'll say that, but in reality, obviously, I don't know where everything is because I lost this good news story for about 2 months.
But anyway.
I digress. This week's good news story, this man was trying to commit suicide in the middle of the thruway, the highway, and this officer was trying to get him to come to him and he just was standing right in the middle of the throughway. So if, someone was going fast enough, they just took him out. That was what he was thinking. But in reality, what happened was a truck driver was coming down the road, and he saw him in the middle of the road, and he just stopped. And then, on the throughway, if you've ever been on the throughway, there's tons and tons of truck drivers. And then it just happened, one truck driver after another. So where the whole road was blocked off, no one could get on the throughway, no one could get off. They were all just stuck. There was a big line of trucks just stopped. So no one could get by. He couldn't get by. All traffic was stopped. And eventually, it was just him and the officer standing in the middle of the road. And eventually, the officer got him to come to him, and the guy gave the officer a big hug. And, those two went on their way. But the officer later did say that it was the truck drivers that saved this man's life, not the officer.
Now, that's that's heartwarming in a whole other sense because, people, when they're driving on the throughway, sometimes don't really pay much attention because, usually it's pretty much just flowing traffic and all of that. But for these...
Not even that. The truck drivers, truck drivers have deadlines to me. But I would say there was probably more than 20 truck drivers that stopped to stop all traffic.
Yeah.
They all stopped it. They didn't care about their deadlines. They just all stopped. All traffic was stopped.
Yeah, a lot of truck drivers have, times that they have to be at the places where they're dropping trailers off, or they also have like driving time limits as well. So for them to take time out of those two deadlines to kind of, work together, honestly, to just block off the entire throughway so that this man could be talked out of, committing suicide. That's amazing.
And it wasn't like a 5-minute event either. They were there for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I was really debating whether or not I should just throw this away or if we should do it, but I'm glad we stuck with it because this is a really powerful news story because it seems like more and more our country is becoming more and more divided. But this news story really just shows our whole country coming together. An officer trying to save a man's life, and then truck drivers helping the law enforcement save this man's life.
Right. Well, this is an act of, human decency and compassion towards other people. Because, one of those truck drivers that was there, could have easily just been like, nah, I don't care about this. I'll go on my merry way, go maybe a different way, whatever, and left. But, they all stopped there. They all stopped there to block off the throughway to make sure that this man left that throughway alive.
And I think what was even more powerful about this was it was one truck driver stopped, and if I remember correctly from reading the news story, he didn't even say anything on the radio. All of a sudden, he just saw other trucks right next to him stopping, and it was just truck after truck after truck on both sides of the throughway just stopping, so there was no traffic passing.
We've spoken before about chain reaction, events in the good news stories before, and this is another one. And it's huge. This one is absolutely amazing and almost tear-jerking if you really think about it.
I mean, it does. It just started a chain reaction. One stopped, and one side of the throughway was all stopped, and no one was saying anything on the radio. And then for the other side of the throughway, for people going the other way, for truck drivers just to see what was going on, to stop there, and then people on the ramp to stop traffic. I mean, it's just a heartwarming story. I mean, it does. It shows our whole country coming together to help one person.
Yeah, and I'm really glad with that we decided to use this story because it's honestly, it's like we say, it's beautiful. It's really a beautiful thing.
I think that's one of our biggest good news stories where it does show so many people coming together.
Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree with you there. I love that
People
story.
put
Yeah.
away their personal problems. They put away their personal deadlines. Like, they were more focused on this man than probably themselves in that time.
Yeah, and it shows that, it shows the hearts that still live on in this country no matter how dark things have been getting, no matter how ugly things have been getting in this country. An event like this, a story like this shows that people definitely still have hearts. They definitely still have some compassion for other people. And it, we need that. We need that in a time like this.
But that is the end of this week's good news story, and we'll see you Monday morning because there's more and more news coming. But until then, make sure you follow us on all social medias. The links will be down in the show notes. But until Monday, see you then. Or
Yep.
until Monday, have a good weekend.
See you later, guys.
Bye.